That power bank sitting at the bottom of your suitcase right now, if it's packed the wrong way, it could get your bag pulled before you ever reach the gate. And here's the problem. Most travelers over 60 are still packing the same way they did 5 or 10 years ago. Same habits, same routines. But airport security has changed quietly. And in 2026, those old habits are getting more people stopped at checkpoints than ever before. A retired couple from Ohio recently almost missed their cruise. Not because of traffic, not because of a delayed flight, but because of a $22 item buried deep in their checked bag that TSA confiscated on the spot. Today, I'm breaking down 5 items TSA officers are flagging right now, and more importantly, what you should do instead. And number 3, it's sitting in a lot of seniors' bags right now, and almost nobody realizes it's a problem. Let's start with the one catching travelers completely off guard. Item 5. The lithium battery rule that's catching seniors off guard. Most travelers assume this rule is only about laptops and phones, but that's not what's getting people stopped. The real issue is loose lithium batteries. In the last few years, airports across the United States have been installing new CT security scanners, the same type of 3D imaging systems used in medical facilities. These scanners rotate bag images and allow TSA officers to see every item from multiple angles. And that means loose batteries that used to slip through screening are now very easy to detect. A 71-year-old retired engineer from Dallas learned this the hard way. He packed his camera gear for a trip to Alaska, spare batteries, a backup power bank, and a couple of extra hearing aid batteries, all in his checked suitcase. It was something he'd done dozens of times before. This time, TSA flagged his bag before it even reached the plane. He was called back to security for secondary screening. By the time the issue was sorted out, his connecting flight had already boarded. What changed? Air safety officials now consider lithium battery fires one of the most serious risks in aviation. If a loose battery overheats in a cargo hold, it can be extremely difficult to contain. So the rule is simple, but a lot of travelers don't know the details. If a lithium battery is not installed inside a device, it cannot go in checked luggage. That includes spare camera batteries, backup power banks, rechargeable hearing aid batteries, loose e-cigarette cells. All of those must go in your carry-on bag instead. Your defense. Before your next flight, open your checked suitcase and look for anything with a lithium battery that isn't installed in a device. Move those items to your carry-on. If possible, keep them in a protective case or their original packaging so the terminals can't touch metal objects. And if you see a watt-hour rating printed on the battery, that's the number airlines use to determine if it's allowed. Here's the easy rule to remember. If the battery isn't inside a device, it belongs in your carry-on. And don't assume it will slip through screening. Modern scanners see things older machines never could, but lithium batteries aren't the only item quietly triggering bag searches. The next one is sitting in a lot of carry-on bags right now, and most travelers think it's completely harmless. Item 4. The powder rule most travelers get wrong. For years, travelers packed things like protein powder, fiber supplements, ground coffee, or powdered vitamins without giving it a second thought. But in recent years, TSA has started enforcing a rule that many people still don't know exists. It involves powders in carry-on bags. Here's the rule. If a powder or granular substance in your carry-on is larger than about 12 ounces, roughly the size of a soda can, TSA officers may ask you to remove it for additional screening. And if they can't clearly identify it through the scanner, they can ask you to dispose of it. A 68-year-old grandmother from Phoenix discovered this while flying to visit her grandchildren. She had packed a large container of her daily fiber supplement in her carry-on bag, something she'd brought on every trip for years. This time, the container triggered additional screening. The officer couldn't verify the contents through the scanner and gave her 2 choices: throw it away or miss her flight. She threw it away. And it's not just supplements that fall under this rule. Other items that can trigger the same issue include ground coffee, powdered drink mixes, loose spices, powdered vitamins, certain protein powders. Now, this doesn't mean you can't bring these items. It simply means they may require additional screening if they exceed that size. Your defense. If you are traveling with powder larger than 12 ounces, you have two safer options. The easiest solution is to pack it in your checked luggage, where the restrictions are much less strict. If the powder is medically necessary and needs to stay with you, keep it clearly labeled and be ready to remove it from your bag during screening. Proactively placing it in a bin often speeds up the process. And if security asks what it is, calmly explaining that it's a supplement or medical powder usually resolves the situation quickly. Now, before we get to the next one, do me a quick favor. If these travel tips are helpful, hit the like button so more travelers can find this before their next trip, and subscribe if you want more practical airport advice like this. All right, let's move on, because the next issue doesn't happen at the TSA checkpoint. It happens right after. Item 3. The cash rule. Many travelers don't realize exists. Once you pass TSA and reach international departure or arrival areas, another agency becomes involved, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And this is where a rule about cash surprises a lot of travelers. If you're entering or leaving the United States carrying $10,000 or more in cash or monetary instruments, federal law requires you to declare it. Not suggest it, declare it. Most people have heard of this rule, but many travelers misunderstand how it works. Declaring the money is not an admission of wrongdoing. It's simply a legal requirement designed to track large financial transfers across borders. A 73-year-old retired teacher from Florida found out how serious this can become. She was returning from visiting family overseas with several $1,000s in gift money her relatives had given her. The amount was just under the reporting threshold. During a routine inspection, officers asked where the funds came from. She didn't have documentation and couldn't clearly explain the situation. Her cash was temporarily seized while the case was reviewed. Eventually, it was resolved, but the process took months. The key thing to understand is this. The problem usually isn't carrying money. The problem is failing to declare it or explain it clearly. Your defense. If you're traveling internationally with a large amount of cash, always declare it. The process is straightforward and simply involves filling out a short form. You should also keep basic documentation showing where the money came from, especially if it was a gift, savings withdrawal, or business transaction. When travelers are open and cooperative, the process usually takes only a few minutes. But money isn't the only thing customs officers watch closely. The next item surprises more seniors than almost anything else on this list, because it seems completely harmless. Item 2. The food in your bag could trigger a fine. Many travelers bring food home from international trips. Maybe it's a favorite snack from another country, homemade treats from family, or fruit picked from a relative's garden. And for years, many people did this without a problem. But agricultural inspection has become much stricter. The United States has some of the toughest food and plant protection rules in the world, designed to prevent foreign pests or diseases from entering the country, and enforcement has increased in recent years. A 76-year-old grandmother returning from the Philippines brought several mangoes her family had packed for her, something she'd done many times before. At Los Angeles International Airport, an agriculture detection dog flagged her bag. The fruit was confiscated and destroyed. Because it hadn't been declared, she was also issued a fine. What catches many seniors off guard is this. Sometimes travelers aren't even aware that food was packed in their luggage. Family members often add snacks or produce as gifts without mentioning it, but customs rules still apply to whatever is inside your bag. Your defense. Before leaving another country, take a moment to check your luggage carefully. Ask family members if they added any food, fruits, plants, or seeds to your bag. If you are unsure about an item, always declare it on the customs form. Declaring an item doesn't automatically mean you'll get in trouble. Most of the time, it simply means the officer will inspect it and decide whether it's allowed. The problems usually happen when something is not declared and officers discover it later, and that brings us to the final item. the one that can stop travelers at the airport before they even reach their flight. Item 1. Travel documents that don't match the system. This final issue catches many travelers by surprise because everything in their wallet appears perfectly normal. Their passport looks valid. Their driver's license looks fine. But modern airport systems now cross-check travel documents against government databases in real time. If something doesn't match, even a small detail, it can trigger additional screening. Common issues include passports that expire soon, expired residency cards, name mismatches between airline tickets and ID, driver's licenses that aren't real, ID compliant. One traveler in New Jersey recently experienced this after returning from a trip to Europe. Her residency card had expired a few months earlier. She was eventually allowed to enter the country, but the expired document triggered a lengthy secondary screening process. Situations like this don't happen often, but when they do, they can delay your trip significantly. Your defense. Before any trip, check your travel documents carefully. Make sure your passport has at least 6 months of validity remaining beyond your travel dates, since many countries require this. If you're using a driver's license for domestic flights, check whether it has the real ID star in the upper corner. If it doesn't, bringing your passport can prevent problems at the checkpoint. And if you hold a residency card or visa, make sure it hasn't expired before traveling internationally. One simple habit helps avoid almost every issue I just mentioned. Set a calendar reminder about a year before important documents expire. That single reminder can prevent hours of delays at the airport. Knowing these 5 rules puts you ahead of most travelers walking into airports this year. But here's something many passengers don't realize. Getting through security is only half the battle. Airlines themselves use dozens of small pricing tricks that quietly add fees, move your seat, or charge you for things you never intended to buy. In my next video, I'm breaking down 7 airline tricks that are quietly costing travelers over hundreds of dollars every year, and how to avoid every single one. Click the video on your screen now to watch it, and I'll see you there.